Actually, I'd like to ask Bob Lipton, the Head of Emergency Services, Assistant Head, to lead us in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, first off, roll call. Where's Carl? Carl, what are you doing?
2 seconds.
We're just waiting for Carl.
No, we're
Diane?
Here we go.
I'm sorry to make you do that. That's not part of the agenda, but that's the letter for the EDC, for the letter of support. It's okay to sign it. And then sign it. Diane, sign it. Joe and Roger. Okay, everyone's here. I'd like to introduce our state senator.
Roll call.
Oh, roll call, please.
District number 1, Legislator Scuccinaro.
Present.
District 2, Legislator Alverio.
Present.
District 4, Legislator Nasarino.
Present.
District 5, Legislator Albano.
Here.
District 6, Legislator Gross.
Present.
District 7, Legislator Castellano.
Present.
District 8, Legislator LeBeau.
Present.
District 9, Legislator DeCarlo.
Present.
District 3, Chairman Altman.
Present. Okay, I'd like to introduce our Terry Gibson, our state senator. Terry represents Phillipstown, Putnam Valley, and Kent, half of Putnam County. And I said before Terry and I met, we were in the Christmas Carol play last year. That's how we first met.
That's right.
Together. So, anyway, Terry, thank you for coming and giving us an update of what's happening in our town.
Well, thank you. I really do appreciate you taking time to fit me into your agenda. I'm sure you're very busy with lots of things going on. And while I do represent officially half of Putnam County, I do like to think that I serve the interests of all of Putnam County. I mean, it's a small county. We're all in this together, so what we can do on one side certainly helps the other. And I want to encourage all of you to reach out to me anytime I think I can give assistance. I'm here tonight because since I was elected, we have been conducting a local governance tour. We've made a point to get out to all the board meetings of our local towns, villages, cities, and counties. So I wanted to come tonight to include you in that tour. And the purpose of the tour is basically just to give you an update on what my office is doing in terms of local government issues to help you. I am the ranking member on the local government state senate committee, and part of that responsibility is to make sure that you know what we are doing, what I'm specifically doing to help you. So I'm just going to give you a brief report so you're sort of familiar with some things that we're working on, and then be happy to answer any questions that you have about anything. I wanted just to first, because you were a part of the budget process this year, I'm happy to report that you should have received an increase of about 15% in your CHIPS funding, which came to almost $1 million. So hopefully that will help you with some of your infrastructure projects. And,
Is that for towns also,
that's for
Terry?
you.
Yeah.
That's
For the county.
Specifically the county.
Not for you personally, but for you.
The county highway.
He's already thinking about his next.
For
The town's getting an increase in
Putnam
CHIPS.
County received a 15% increase in CHIPS funding.
1.5. The towns are getting a 28 to 30%? Very good.
Yes, but Putnam County got an increase as well, so check your receipts and make sure you get that money. If you didn't, let us know, we'll make sure you get it. But you're entitled to almost $1 million. So keep that in mind. So in terms of legislative issues, I wanted to first let you know that as I know it's important to you, unfunded mandates are sort of the topic that everyone talks about these days. And I was a local elected official on my local board in Rhinebeck, where I live in Dutchess. I dealt directly and personally with unfunded mandates. I very much understand how those issues affect you and your budgets. I mean, look, what's been happening over the last 30 years is New York State has been coming up with these ideas, many of which are actually good ideas, services that we should be providing, but they haven't provided the funds to pay for them. They're asking you to do it, which I think is irresponsible. When you sit down with your families to balance your budget, when you come up with a new idea about something you want to buy, you don't go across the street and ask if your neighbor can pay for it for you. Well, that's essentially what New York State has been doing. They've identified a new source of revenue, and that revenue is the money that you raise here locally to take care of your local issues, to fix your streets, your water system, your sewer systems, to do the things that you were elected to do. You weren't elected to take care of New York State's problems. That's what I was elected to do. And it is our responsibility to pay for the ideas that we come up with. And that's what our state representatives have not been doing. So I'm sure as you know, early last year, we did roll out an amendment to the Constitution that would mandate that New York State not send down any additional mandates. And we have been asking for our local governments to support that amendment. I rolled that out with a local assembly member in the southern part of Dutchess, Kieran Waller. He's carrying the assembly. So we've had about 10 municipalities, including Dutchess County, that have signed onto that resolution and have passed resolutions of their own supporting it. That's very helpful to me when I go back to my colleagues in the state Senate to be able to provide proof that my constituents would really like this to happen. So I'd ask you again to consider passing a resolution in support of that amendment. We can send you an additional copy of that if you're not familiar with it. And we'll make sure you get copies of everything I mentioned tonight. Additionally to that, just yesterday, you should have received some emails. If not, you'll be getting a hard copy of it. We've added 2 more pieces to the mandate relief package that we hope that you will support. We will certainly need your help. One of them is a project we call CPR. It's a County Payment Relief. So it is essentially funding aid, financial aid for counties. While we're trying to stop New York State from sending down additional unfunded mandates, we need to do something about the mandates that already exist, obviously. Well, we believe the way to do that is for New York State to provide you with earmarked funds that you can use to fund the mandates. So we have a formula that we put into place that is essentially based on $20 per person. With Putnam County, that would total approximately $6 million in financial aid that you would receive on a yearly basis. That money would be earmarked to be only used to fund the unfunded mandates. You would get to choose how you want to spend that $6 million. You would identify any unfunded mandate that you have to pay for, and that money would be used for that. So for every dollar that we give you to fund these mandates, it's $1 more that you have to bring back for potential tax savings to your local constituents. Because what's happening is you're using your money to pay for all these ideas. Well, Albany now would be giving you money to pay for their ideas, and you would get to keep your money to do your ideas.
Is that in process of being approved, or is that?
Well, it's a new bill that we presented to the state, and it's something that we're going to be moving forward aggressively this next session. So I'm just bringing it to your attention, and again, I would appreciate you looking at it in detail. And
No, it's wonderful with Clark, Anthony, with well, we had to take out our own budget. That's very good.
So that would be, like I said, approximately $6 million for Putnam County. This would be a statewide bill, so it helps out every county. Also, in addition to that, the third part of this mandate relief package would be an early intervention bill, which we've rolled out at the same time. That's also now in the state Senate. One of your unfunded mandates is that you're required to cover the cost of early intervention programs here in Putnam County. Now, we need to sit down with your office and kind of do the math to figure out what this would be. In Dutchess County, it would total approximately $9 million. We're guessing that in Putnam it may be around $3 or $4 million. So that's our guess. So you could find $4 million with $6 million with the CPR program. That's essentially $10 million in mandate relief in financial aid that you would be receiving from the state.
Senator Kempis, if you don't mind, while you're on the subject, that's okay?
Sure.
We just happened to have I wasn't there, but there was a meeting today here in the county about sharing sales tax dollars with the towns. So this CPR you're talking about is going to the counties. It's not going to the towns for their unfunded mandate.
No, it only goes, this particular program goes strictly to the counties. So the idea being that if we can alleviate some of your discretionary funding, if you're not having to spend all of your money paying for Albany's ideas, you ought to theoretically have more to help out your local governments. So we feel like that's the right place to start.
Thank you, because it's just apropos, there was literally a meeting today right here in the building where all the town representatives came and talked about, because their cry is to share tax revenues from the county's point of view. And there was a
Right.
whole big discussion about why we can't do that, because we make them whole with their taxes and a variety of different things.
Right.
So I know that this will be a question that's going to come up. Senator Gibson talked about, unfunded mandates. Well, we have them, but you answered it very well. So now, what can then we do with that $6 million as we roll out some of the stuff we do with the town? So
Exactly.
very apropos.
It's got to be earmarked specifically for.
Yeah, the money can only be used to fund unfunded mandates.
Where would the money be coming from, Senator, that the state can do this? Because the last I heard, they were facing a deficit.
Well, it's an appropriation from the budget. So our goal this next session is to go back and fight for that appropriation you set aside. This is a $141 billion budget New York State has. The amount of money that CPR requires statewide, even if the total for all states, is still a drop in the bucket, the overall number. So, some other program somewhere in New York State might have to suffer, some executive might have to make less money.
If I can make a suggestion to the state, Senator,
Right.
have them revamp the entire Common Core APPR arrangement, because that is a super burden on every one of our districts. It is bankrupting our school districts to implement all the nuances of the new Common Core instruction plan, and also the attached APPR, the evaluation system that was just put on us, and the testing. It's onerous. It's $8 a kid for multiple tests, grades 3 through 8, and then the Regents exams, and they want to computerize those, which will kick the cost up to approximately $27 a test.
And
The only
they still
people who
can't
get rich from
change-
this is Pearson, the people who
Right.
publish the test. So that would be a great thing, Senator, if you
I'd
could
be,
also champion
I'd
that.
be all for that. I'm all for putting this whole Common Core situation on hold, trying to find a better way to.
We have a resolution tonight asking all the counties to join with us on that very
That's
issue
great.
tonight.
That's great, that's
Yeah,
great.
we do.
So I'm confident that the money's there. That's not the issue. The issue is really, and that's why I'm here tonight, the issue really is getting my colleagues, most of which have been in Albany for over 20 years, to understand that this is not a method of funding programs that we can continue to do. We can't continue to ask local governments to do this. It is making it extremely expensive to do business here. It's extremely expensive to live here. It's hard to create jobs here. All of that relates directly back to irresponsible mismanagement of the state budget. It's been going for a long time. And as a new person, as a person who recently ran a small business for a long time, who's been on a local board, I just refuse to play by these rules. And so we're trying to present new ideas that make sense. And I would ask that you not only pass a resolution supporting these, but also lobby all of your other state representatives in the Senate and the Assembly to join me in signing on to these bills.
Thank you,
I
Senator.
don't think we'll have any problem doing that, because 73% of our budget goes to state mandates.
Yes,
It's crippling.
I know.
And we survive on the sales tax and the property tax, and
Right.
there's nothing left.
No, it's difficult. The tax gap is even more difficult, and it's irresponsible on all these part not to deal with this. I am the first person that stepped up with really sort of a clear-cut way to deal with this situation. So I am going to need all the help I can get and sort of explaining to my colleagues up there how important this is, and I really do appreciate you.
Well, one of the things that you said, Terry, that just got my attention was that most of your colleagues are there for 20 years. How are we doing with respect to term limits? Because this legislature enacted term limits, but what's really needed is term limits on the higher level of
Right.
government, which is a problem, in and of itself, because you don't have newness, you don't have people coming in and looking at the situation, as yourself, who's newly elected. So how are we doing with term limits?
Well, I completely agree. One of the very first bills that I sponsored in the state Senate was a term limits bill, almost 10 months ago when I was elected. It's a bill that would allow a maximum of 16 years in Albany, no matter if you served in the Senate or the Assembly. It would be a maximum of 12 years in each house. if you run individually in those houses. But what happens, a lot of people go in the assembly, and then they get reelected to the Senate. So we want to put a 16-year max in Albany, period. I think it's important. I think for Albany, at least, it's absolutely necessary. Because you have too many people up there that have lost touch with reality.
Absolutely.
They're no longer motivated to deal with the issues that are facing their communities. And the only way to change that is to allow more people to run for office. And the only way to encourage them to run for office is to make it possible and open up the field to
You have to
more
have turnover.
people. So I'm totally behind that. It's a very hard thing to get done.
I'm sure it
For the
is.
exact reasons that I just said. Because if people have been there for 20
I'm
years,
sure it
might
is.
stay for another 20 if they could. But more new people are getting elected, little by little, and if we can stay there a little while, if we can get more new people elected on both sides of the aisle, this is not a partisan issue. In fact, that bill is being carried by a Republican Assembly member in the Assembly. That same bill that I introduced. So I'm optimistic. It's something I believe strongly in, and we just have to keep pushing it.
Maybe we can send a resolution supporting that as well, term limits.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
I'll make sure, Brian Kelly is my Director of Government Operations. He's here with me tonight. He will make sure to send you, following this meeting, copies of that legislation, but also
All the others. Yeah.
all the others.
Thank you.
You check your email, because I think you should have something there. If you don't, we'll get it to you anyway. Yes?
Senator, along the lines of what Legislator Oliveri was talking about on the Common Core things, the State Education Department is downloading student information. I'm very concerned about that as a former teacher and a school board member. They're downloading information of youngsters, and I just think that's very unhealthy. I don't know if that's
The
something you can get
dashboard,
into or
he's
not.
talking about the testing dashboard that the
Yeah.
state is setting up.
Young people to be on the computer like that for the rest of their lives. We know what happens now with folks. I just think it's a very bad, and they're doing it, really just going ahead and doing it, even though there's been a lot of disapproval for it.
We do have a bill in. We are the sponsor. We are the sponsor of the bill that would bring into that would not allow that type of information to be shared publicly.
I appreciate that.
And we've been on that early on. We presented that bill right after I was elected, way before anybody was even talking about this. We continue to try to push that forward as well, so we'll make sure you get a copy of that.
Thank you.
So I absolutely agree.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. I wanted to mention this before I forget. I wanted to, first of all, thank you. Putnam County was extremely active in the Veterans Fair that I recently hosted in Fishkill. It was a fair for veterans and their families. We asked both counties to help us promote it. We had about 60 vendors there from both counties. Putnam was well represented, not only with veterans, but also with vendors and family members. And we really appreciate you helping promote that and participating in it. And it was such a huge success that we're going to do it again next year, even bigger and better. We're going to be doing a special recognition of Korea and Vietnam era veterans. We did World War II this last time. So keep an eye on that. Thank you again for your help on that. I also wanted to thank you for your support on the Imagination Station. Richard, I know that you're going to be helping provide construction for the new playground. Is that right?
I dig holes and lift
Yeah,
everything
right.
up. That's what I do.
So
I pick things up and I put them down.
we're very excited about that new playground in Kent, and I'm going to be down there in April helping put it together, and I know I'll see you there as well. So I look forward to that.
Actually, the center, I want to say, my colleagues here supported the Cold War Veterans Medal. Senator Gibson, our previous senator that represented my district in Kent, never anything was ever done, and Senator Gibson pushed it through with the Cold War Veterans Recognition and Certificate. And I want to thank you for that. And he's very pro-veteran, and he does a lot of good work. So
Thanks, absolutely. Thank you very much. We'll keep doing more. I wanted to mention too, Pudding Street intersection at the Taconic State Parkway. Some of you are aware of what we're doing there. That's moving forward. We have lobbied the DOT aggressively on this. We brought back from last year's budget, we secured $1 million to be put forth in a study. We held a public forum down in Putnam Valley where the DOT came down and gave an extensive explanation of what they're doing, what they're not doing, what the reasoning is behind it. But this has gotten a lot of attention, and because of our lobbying efforts, because of Putnam Valley's efforts in continuing to keep this at the top level of the radar, it's now at the very top of the list of projects in Putnam County for the DOT.
Outstanding.
So this is going to be moving
That's
forward in one way or
that's our
another.
district.
We don't know, it's too early to tell exactly what's going to happen and when it's going to happen, but they are making this a top funding priority. So they're going to continue this study. It could be an overpass, it could be an underpass, it could be some other kind of option, but they're very committed to solving this problem, and they understand it, and we're going to stay on them about it. So make sure you know about that. I also, I meant to mention, I just want to say at the end that, we are very much keeping tabs on the Metro North train situation. Obviously, we had a fatality here in my district, and while our heart goes out to their families, the Phillipstown community is obviously suffering very much. We are committed to holding MTA, Metro North, accountable to making sure that this type of accident does not happen again, and that they put the types of safety mechanisms in place that are needed to do that. And so we are monitoring that situation very closely and staying very much in touch with what's happening there, and we'll keep you posted on that as well. Do you have any other questions about any other item that is state related?
No,
Good to go.
just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Senator. Very good.
Excellent.
Okay, next I have to have approval of minutes from the budget adoption meeting of October 30th, 2013, and the regular meeting of November 6th, 2013.
Good to go.
There you go. Okay, correspondence, county auditor. Survey. I'm not sure if that's part of it. Is that part of it? Is that just, we're using paper?
No.
All right, so we're good with that? Okay. All right, next, the pre-filed resolutions, Protective Services Committee, Roger Gross from Town Southeast. Roger?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of Legislators LeBou and Oliverio and myself, I'd like to move forward with the approval appointment of the Traffic Safety Board member who's been on the board before. His name is Lieutenant James Oster, the Town of Kent Police Department, for a 3-year term. The said term is to expire December 31st, 2016.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, next, thank you, Roger. Jim Oster is a very good person. All right, Health, Social, Educational, and Environmental Committee, Chairman Oliverio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of legislators DeCarlo, Scuchamara, and myself, I'd like to move forward the following resolutions. The approval reappointment, Putnam County Board of Health, Dr. Joseph Avezzano, for a term to expire December 31st, 2019.
Discussion, all in favor?
Next, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move forward an approval of memorialization from NISAC, resolution urging New York State to restore the historic 50/50 state-local cost sharing for the state's mandated safety net program, or provide more program control to local social services districts commensurate with counties' increased fiscal responsibility for the program through the Department of Social Services. Again, this is asking the state, as the senator instead stated, tease up on these unfunded mandates and help us be able to fund them at an adequate level.
Discussion, all in favor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next, another memorialization out of NISEC calling on the governor and state legislation to continue to partner with counties to successfully reform juvenile justice programs. Basically, we had Mr. Piazza, our commissioner of the Department of Social Service, come and explain this along with our probation director, and they both said that this is a good thing. What it would do is to raise the age of an incarcerated or a juvenile can be tried as a adult. Right now, it's currently 16. It's clogging the courts with a lot of nonsense that's just costing us a lot of money. Instead of referring these youngsters to family court where they would be better served, and that's what this is asking.
Could I just add to that? And not only that, these children at the age of 16 have a record going forward. And we're talking about nonviolent
Right, nonviolent.
offenses here, nonviolent.
Yes.
But I just want to add and piggyback, as Terry Gibson was here earlier. I think I brought this up at the committee with respect to earmarking the funds, because although we support this if in fact, if it becomes effective, would put a burden on the probation department, because by reducing the age, it then falls down into probation, and the costs associated with us processing all of these cases. I don't see any language here with respect to that.
From what Mike Piazza told us, and Gene seemed to back this up from the cello, it would actually save the county a little bit of money, because the cost in a regular court system,
Right.
in an adult court system, is much greater than a family court. There's less representation involved, things like that, less attorneys involved, and they both said that it would ultimately be cheaper in the long run. I mean, that was their opinion.
Yeah, I thought, I don't know, I thought that. Mr.
Gene was concerned
Gene
about
was
the
concerned.
increased workload as
Yeah.
far as family court prescribing probation.
Right.
But again, even that, you end up with probation normally in an adult court, plus
Okay,
the
as
added
long as
expenses.
we're fine with it, because
Yeah.
my discussion, I remember the conversation a little bit different, that Gene was a little bit concerned about the impact on his budget. But if
On
that's
his
not the case.
workload, you're absolutely
Yeah.
right. He
Okay.
was a little concerned about that.
Thank you.
But he endorses it.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
said it ultimately would save us money.
Family court was my father at the dinner table, boy, you didn't. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
And finally, Mr. Chairman, we have a memorialization concerning the very thing I mentioned to the senator on the Common Core, adopting some of the language and the focus from an education group that is asking the state to slow down on the implementation of this brand-new curriculum in our public schools. Basically, it comes out of the Reach to the Top program that the Obama administration had set up, where they're nationalizing education, taking it away from the states and saying this is what you must teach. It's good rigor, it's high-level learning, no problem with that. But to try to implement it in 1 year's time is ridiculous. So we're asking to space it out and reduce the burden of this implementation on the districts. And all the education groups, administrative groups, all favor what is put forward in this resolution. And I ask that we approve it, send it to all neighboring counties, the Assembly, the Senate, and Governor Cuomo, asking them to follow suit on this.
Anthony?
Yeah, what would be nice too is if our local districts can also, as school boards, kind of memorialize this would be wonderful.
You know what,
Because
that's a
part
good
of-
idea.
Yeah, part of what's happening, let's be quite frank, okay? We're going through the same thing with the federal government, with the healthcare.
Yes.
We need just to take a time out. Nobody's saying some of the things are good.
They are.
Nobody's arguing that. It's the same thing. Some of them are good, but let's just take a time out to be able to look at it, to have input, to massage it, to make it better. But again, like what was said before, you have to have the will to want to do that, because then you have to make an honest look into stuff to say, no, what, I made a mistake. For a lot of human beings, it's very difficult to say. Okay, but in the long run, you're right. That's the way we should go. So I concur with you. But if we can, maybe Richie, on your part, after we memorialize it, send it to our local school boards to memorialize it also would be
That would be
very
great.
good.
Because this
Do
is
that,
such a burden on our districts, it really
Diane,
is.
can we do that? One of my last things before,
No.
do I get to pardon people before I leave? Okay.
We'll give you an honorary card here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. All right, all in favor?
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, next, Physical Services Committee, Chairman Albano. Carl?
Thank you, Legislator Arthur. On behalf of legislators Arthur and Scutramara, 5F, approval conveyance of tax map 83.65-2-4, Town of Putnam Valley. This was $1,500 that will cover us for the cost of taxes. It's 0.16 of an acre, being attached to a neighbor's property. It's not buildable, so we're conveying it out. All in favor?
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye. Approval renewal lease agreement, Putnam County Visitors Bureau.
Discussion.
Sure.
I will be voting no this evening. It's a matter of principle. Last year I voted no, because I feel that this is an outside agency. They should be autonomous. They should be in their own building. They shouldn't be outside of the doorway of the county executive. So we have to be consistent, so I'll be voting no.
Any other discussion? Any other no's?
Well, I will also be a no on that, Mr., for the reasons
Same as
Ms.
last year.
Ledoux said.
Say, Anthony, you're a no?
You may
63,
roll
Diane?
call?
So roll call.
Well, I
I
guess
think.
roll call, I guess, yeah.
Legislator Albano.
Yes.
Legislator Castellano.
Yes.
Legislator DeCarlo.
No.
Legislator Gross.
No.
Legislator LeBeau.
No.
Legislator Nasarino.
Yes.
Legislator Oliveria.
No.
Legislator Scuchamaro.
Yes.
Chairman Acton.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries.
Okay. Carl.
5H, approval amendment resolution 100 of 2013, support of Putnam County's use of the QUIP funds to purchase equipment, Vacwell Truck Town of Patterson. This is all part of the DEP, the watershed agreement, trying to remove the, take care of the catch basins. I think the next thing we have to do is try to get this for the county and for
Roger.
and the town of Brewster.
Southeast.
Southeast.
Town of Southeast, I'm sorry. Carmel already has it, and obviously this machine is needed in all the municipalities, counties, towns.
Yes.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I know at the committee meeting, there was some discussion about the fairness of that, but
Right.
it's a first step, and what we need to just power that to also get it for those towns that need it.
And not just to
I
back
agree.
up my fellow Southeast residents, but how many catch basins are there in Southeast?
We have 3,100, three major reservoirs that surround the
Yeah,
town. We're in
exactly.
the heart of the
They really
watershed.
needed
It
to.
goes by priority first.
Well, Kent is basically one big reservoir, and we have these retention ponds now that we're building, that we have to,
Maintain.
same thing. So anyway,
Down in Putnam Valley, we're out with
We're out of everything.
We're out of
But
watershed.
we talked today at this meeting with the sales tax about sharing. Is there any reason why these trucks can't be utilized by other
We
municipalities?
talked about that at the
I
committee.
think it's complicated.
Because all the municipalities need to use the equipment at the same time.
Right.
So that's a dilemma in of itself. But thank you on behalf of the town of Patterson. And I know that all the towns are faced with the same demands, and we all need the trucks. So, Roger, hopefully that Southeast will be next. I know the town of Patterson made their application in very early. This was something that I picked up when former legislator Mary Conklin was beginning to work on it. So it is a work in progress, and thank you very much.
Anthony?
Yeah, one of the things, although I will not be here, but I think that this board really needs to maybe start with a little bit of a subcommittee, is these type of questions, because your MOA is coming up, okay? And you want to make sure these are the type of things that start to be logged in, and expenses that are going towards all this retrofitting, because that's very important. Because I believe the MOA is up after next year. It's going to be
It is.
very important. So please, make sure you keep it on your radar screen, and when you're having these discussions, you start to mark all these things down, because these dollars add up, and it's very important.
Yes.
You know, you don't get a bite at the apple a lot of times. You got a bite coming up. You want to make
I
sure
think one of
you're
the
doing it.
best things that this legislature did was to support the compliance bubble with the East Hudson funds. Because I believe New York City and the DEP will look at us, there's 17 Dutchess, Putnam, and Westchester are involved in this, and they really want to organize it. And we want New York City to pay for these trucks. We don't want to,
They're making
you know, if we share the sales tax, it's one thing, but New York City should be giving us the money to keep their water clean.
Exactly.
But the compliance bubble, I thought was one of the best things that we ever did here. So, Carl.
Yeah, with regard to the compliance bubble, when we look at it, it's a separate corporation, its own entity. So I think there is going to be a time in the future where there will be some equipment, perhaps it should be placed there, that we will share. We should look at that, some kind of IMA. It's difficult, but we may not be able to provide everything for all the towns that's needed. There may be some equipment that is going to be shared universally. So,
One
okay,
thing we know
so,
for sure, this is not going away.
yes. Okay, so we're good with 5H?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye. 5I, approval grant, sub-grants of Hurricane Sandy funding, hazardous mitigation grant program. This is $28 million, almost $29 million. The matching fund would be 25%. We don't have to take these funds, we just want to have it in place that it should they become available, we're ready to move.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next, the Rules, Enactments, and Intergovernmental Relations Committee, Chairwoman Ginny Nasarino for Patterson.
Thank you, Chairman Akra. On behalf of legislators Castellano and DeCarlo, I would like to move forward the approval of the memorization of requesting the state of New York to establish a memorialization to establish a residency requirement in order to receive welfare benefits. At this point in time, there is no resident requirement in New York State for anyone to receive welfare benefits. So what this resolution is speaking to is that in Putnam County has experienced an influx of out-of-state residents that receive said benefits, resulting in an increase of hundreds of thousands of dollars to county taxpayers. So I'd like to move this resolution forward.
I think it's a very good
Common
resolution.
sense resolution,
Common
and
sense.
common sense has
Well
to be
overdue.
detailed.
I'm surprised it's not already a.
I'm surprised
Right.
too.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next, Joseph Castellano from Southeast, the Audit and Administration Committee. Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of legislators Albano and Esserino, I'd like to present the following. Item 5K is the approval of a budgetary amendment for finance.
That was me, Joe, sorry. Flip the page.
For finance, the indigent legal services, it's a $27,581. It has a zero fiscal impact, and we're moving money around for legal aid.
Discussion? All in favor?
5L is the approval of a budgetary amendment for the Health Department for early intervention. This is in the amount of $120,000. Again, zero fiscal impact for 2013 and 2014. And again, we are moving money around to cover the costs for early intervention for the Health Department.
Quickly, this is one of the things that Senator Gibson just addressed, and we would not have to worry about this.
Yeah, Richie, I happened to be at a conference yesterday down in southern Westchester BOCES, and there's a program out there, it's called Waterford Early Learning Program, and the gentleman who started this is brilliant. His name is Dr. Houston, and they've done scientific studies for, I can't tell you, the last 25 years. And the key, and the state of Utah, believe it or not, ski country, instituted this as a part of their state legislation. 4-year-olds, because what they've shown is that youngsters, their brain begins to develop, and actually the science behind it is the more vocabulary they're exposed to as a child, so children who come from higher socioeconomic backgrounds get that rich vocabulary and that language and speech and whatever, and the neurons start to build, and therefore when they get to school they're ready. The urban centers around in Utah, because believe it or not, Utah does have a number of urban cities, many of these kids come to school not prepared at all. So what they did is they instituted this program where parents sign up for a laptop at home, they're trained, the kids go on 30 minutes a day, it's logged in, their scores over the last 5 years have gone through the roof, their EI numbers have gone down precipitously, and they're tracking the kids and they're doing very, very well. So these are the outside of the box things that we spend all the money for programs over and over and over again, and nothing's changed, thinking outside the box. So I bring that up because that's where we're headed. Technology is the future, and to be able to use it in the home to better get kids to be ready to meet those preschool needs is a way to go. So I wanted to echo that because it's very
Okay,
important.
no, very well. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
5M is the approval of budgetary amendment for the Sheriff's Department for 2013 Explosives Detection Canine Grant. And this is incoming money, $55,977, zero fiscal impact for both 2013 and 2014. And this is to enable our Sheriff's Department to have a new canine on our staff. And I think it's a great idea, and I think this is something that is needed in our department.
Woof, woof. All in favor?
5N is the approval of budgetary amendment for the highways and facilities outside consulting firm. Okay. We are moving some money around to cover these costs. Zero fiscal impact again for 2013, 2014. And we're decreasing a couple of positions is what we're doing in this thing. And there's no fiscal impact.
Yeah, let me see.
Discussion, anyone?
No.
I'm going to be voting no because I don't really understand. I'm going to have to look into it, so I'm voting no. We have an outside line for outside consultants.
They're getting rid of if I can, Mr. Chairman, a vacancy line. They're abolishing that, using the funds out of that vacancy to do this consulting.
But why do we need the consultant? For what purpose?
Engineering.
Yep.
We hired another engineer. We have another consultant. I have to vote now. I'll look into it.
Yeah, but you have to have it, I mean, there's only so many projects you can take on. It's actually cheaper in man hours to have a
consultant.
And they stamp it, and they're
Depends
responsible
on
for
the
the structural work.
I'm sorry, it depends on the circumstances, okay.
Quickly too, Barbara, I just want to, while we're speaking about highways, Manitou Road, before I leave, for my cohorts here, it's in Phillipstown. It's a road that goes down to the Hudson River where the chain was. And it floods out and people cannot get emergency vehicles in there or anything, and Barbara and I are working together on that. And Barbara, I hope we bring that forward, and we're going to actually be asking for some money for some consulting fees, and the MTA gave Barbara and I a letter of partnership where they're going to help pay for a lot of, because they have to get their vehicles down there to service the train. So,
Near the bridge.
yeah, Sam, it floods out. It's like a
I know.
600-foot section you can
Yeah,
maneuver
sure.
across it. But there, I mean, these people are trapped.
Yeah.
So that's going to be coming, I mean, I might not be here when it does, but please support Barbara with this. Okay,
We have to vote on that?
Joe.
One no.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't do the vote. One no.
Well, no, it's fine.
Okay.
5O is the approval of a budgetary amendment for the law department, highways and facilities, the repair of the guardrail damage on county roads. This is incoming money from insurance companies, $9,791.23. And it's incoming money, it's zero fiscal impact, and moving forward.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I just, one more quick thing, I don't know if anyone saw the paper the other day, but our bond rating for the county is great, and all the bonding we did for the construction of the parking lot and the roof of the correctional facility, it's really working out well, and Bill Carlin and the finance department deserves a lot of attaboys for what they did.
There are a lot of counties that don't have the rating that we do.
No, we did a lot of major construction projects, it was very good to see.
Item 5P is the approval of a fund transfer for highways and facilities to defund the septic repair program that we spoke about in the committee. Again, we're decreasing these funds, moving the money into contingency, $19,794.
Discussion? In favor?
Aye.
5Q is the approval of a fund transfer for the Sheriff's Department to cover overtime costs for the correctional facility. We had some overtime issues with the Sheriff's Department this year because, of course, overtime, it is what it is. I guess it's $68,535, and this money was in sub-contingency from last year's budget, so we're just going to move it to cover the cost of the overtime. Zero fiscal impact in 2013, 2014.
Discussion?
This is specifically related to the jail?
Yes.
Yes.
Correctional facilities. In favor?
Aye.
5R is the approval of fund transfer for the Sheriff's Department for a motor vehicle. This was some additional costs that we approved the motor vehicle, and again, they needed an additional $1,919.10. We're moving money around to cover the costs. Zero fiscal impact. The cars have already been approved. It was just needed a little more money to get these cars on the road. I'd like to move it forward.
Discussion? In favor?
Aye.
5S is the approval of a fund transfer for Consumer Affairs to purchase two new vehicles. Fortunately, we had some money in the temporary line and the personnel line, the amount of $60,000. So great job by this department to cover the cost of these two new vehicles. Zero fiscal impact, and of course, we do need these vehicles out there to enforce the rules of Putnam County and help protect Consumer Affairs do their job. So I'd like to move it forward. Zero fiscal impact as well.
Quickly, Jean Marie, your department is doing an excellent job, and Joe Baldanzo is our enforcement officer now. He's doing a really, really great job, and the contractors that I come in contact with, it's a whole different attitude from 2 years ago when they see Joe show up. He knows he's an accomplished carpenter, and he knows what he's doing. It's just, your department's doing very good.
Thank you.
Anyway, all in favor?
Aye.
One no.
5T is the approval of a fund transfer for our highways and facilities for an automotive, I should say. We're moving money out from the gasoline line, $25,000 to the automotive line. again, to pay some bills in this department. Zero fiscal impact for 2013, 2014, the amount of $25,000 we're moving. I'd like to move it forward.
Very good. I guess it's the gas prices, right?
Gas is down,
Save
so
it.
we save some money in gas for sure.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
5U is the approval of reappointments for the Putnam County Industrial Development Agency. We have two individuals that we would like to reappoint to the agency, Maureen McLaughlin and Richard Buchala. And it's a 3-year term, and I'd like to move it forward.
I want to second it, even though we may not need it, but just to show my support for these two individuals who have been doing a great job.
All in favor?
Aye.
And, all right, now we come to other business. Okay, do I have a motion to accept other business?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 1 is the approval for the grant application for the Urban Forestry Grant Program. I'm actually pretty involved with this with John Tully and Lori Taylor with the Soil and Water Department. Carl is also. There's, if you travel along the roads and you see the little purple bags up in the trees here and there, there's a beetle called the ash borer. It's a very tiny beetle, and it's actually killing the ash trees, obviously the ash borer. And they're very tiny, and I first learned about it. It went through Michigan, and there's a belt around the whole earth where there's certain hardwoods are grown. And about 4 years ago, I was in Kentucky, in Louisville, for a construction course I took, and I went to the Louisville Slugger Factory where they make the baseball bats. And that's where I first learned about it, and it's ruining the baseball bat industry, but it's killing all the trees. And it did hop across the river now from Orange County to Dutchess, and we have a little bit of it in Putnam County. And what this grant does, they come down from Cornell, and they do an assessment on your properties and to see which trees are infested or have the beetle in it, because it's got to be put into your budget, because when it happens really quick and the trees die, and you get a good windstorm, they snap, and you have to figure it in your budget for tree removal. They are doing certain things with wasps and some other things to try to kill the beetle, but anyway, that's what that's about. So anyway, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I seconded.
Oh, you need a second?
Yes.
Okay, 6B, approval appointment Board of Election Commissioners, Democratic Party.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move forward the appointment of Catherine P. Croft to fill the vacancy. It's a 1-year vacancy now that Bob Bennett has left. The full Democratic Committee, all the town committees, last night met in convention form and selected Kathy by a rather large majority vote, and I'd like to move forward her appointment to that position. Again, it's 1 year, and then we will come back and revisit the appointments again. But this would fulfill the rest of Mr. Bennett's term. As you know, right now, we do not have a representative of the Democratic Party sitting in the Board of Elections. And if you notice the legal notice we received from our attorney, it is stamped confidential, so we cannot openly discuss it, but there is a strong opinion there that favors the appointment as soon as possible, which would be this evening, so I move that forward.
I'd like to give it a strong second. I believe that it's a Republican board, but I believe it's a courtesy we should give to our Democratic brothers and sisters, and I see no reason that we shouldn't do it. So,
if I can just add one thing, I've been sitting on this board, I'm going to my 18th year, I've been through 4 appointments. I have never once not voted for both gentlemen when the parties have recommended them, whether it was Mr. Scanapico or Mr. Bennett. I've always voted with whatever party's choice it was, and I ask you all to have the same consideration this evening.
Mr. Chairman?
yes.
And I mentioned this last time when we had this discussion. This has nothing to do with the individual at all. I think it needs to be a process. I think that, and I have been steadfast with process since day one. The process should be where the individual comes before Personnel Committee in a week, gets appointed at the end of the year, and starts January 1st. I feel it needs to go through the process. Again, it's something about the individual, but that's my feeling, Sam, and I've been that way the entire time. It needs to go through committee and then go at the end of the year, and then the person's appointed effective
Okay,
January.
Mr. Chairman.
It's my opinion, Sam.
No, I
And I'm
understand,
being,
but,
you know-
and certainly your opinion, you have the right to that, Anthony. This is such an important position within this county, and the state of New York, under its charter, it's set up specifically the two major parties to have representation in that Board of Elections. Half of the electorate, the Democratic part of the electorate, has no representation right now. That's not right. And we didn't have time to vet it through a committee, and we have done this many times where we have brought forward an issue and settled it here at full. I agree with you. I prefer it to go through a committee. But this is such an important position with such gravity. We need to move this as quickly as possible. And I'm really asking you, it is the choice of the Democratic Party. They have spoken in full committee, not just a few people in an executive board, but the entire committee met last night over at Four Brothers. I was there, and it was a lengthy, long process. There were other candidates, and the individuals involved who had the right to vote, the committee members, voted with a large majority for Kathy Croft. And I really, this has nothing to do about politics. This is about good government. We need another party representation in that Board of Elections. We cannot wait to the first of the year or to the year-end meeting. We need that now, so that Kathy can start moving quickly. There's a lot of stuff happening. We have major elections next. The quicker she's there, the better. I really ask you. We have never delayed the appointment of the commissioners, and it's always been unanimous. So I ask you to do the same.
I agree with Sam. It's a non-competitive position, and I think it's just a courtesy. But Clem, how do I proceed with this now? Do I have a roll call vote, or is there one person against it? Do we?
Well, since it's not a agenda item, the resolution that we have appointing a person, I think it has to be brought up for vote as to whether to accept it or not. And there, one person can vote no and be on the agenda for tonight.
Okay, so I'll bring up. I will bring up the question of the vote. Do we acknowledge the, item 6B, the approval appointment of the Board of Election Commissioner for the Democratic Party?
Roll call. Do we roll call?
Can I say something on discussion?
Sure.
She's an excellent candidate. I know the lady. She'll be wonderful. She'll be excellent at the job. I have no issue with that whatsoever. There is a deputy person there already now as representing the Democratic Party. The other issue we still have the gentleman who's retired, but he still is being paid through the end of the year. And we actually would be paying two people for the position. And we don't have funding for that. We have the funding for just the one person. So I certainly support the lady. I certainly support the date in January.
Mr. Chairman,
I would make a motion to have it January 1st effective. So
The bottom line is this: we have the money. We have the money in the budget. We're looking at a $2 million excess in sales tax. We have the money. It's negligible. Bob Bennett earned that vacation time. That is his right. He is on vacation. That does not preclude the fact that you don't bring somebody in to replace this individual. And it's a one-year stint that needs to start as soon as possible. We do this all the time in school districts. We do it here in the county. We bring in individuals to cover in the meantime. This is a no-brainer. This is a democratic choice. It's been vetted. The candidates have been spoken for. We have the individual. We need to do this. There's no reason not to do it. I don't understand the delay. What are we going to do in committee? Say, oh yeah, Kathy Croft was nominated by the Democrats. Let's move it to the year end. I mean, what are we doing in committee? Nothing. I'm asking you to pass this, and let's get this started. And as you know, legal counsel told us that the state mandates supersede any financial concerns. We have the letter that states that. That financial concerns shouldn't even be put on the table. This is an important governmental overseeing position that needs to be filled. Let's not make this political. Let's just vote. This is fair. We have done it before. Every single time I've been involved, 4 times, and I voted for your Republican representative. I'm asking you to show me the same courtesy this evening.
Okay, Clem,
If I can
so,
make a statement also.
go ahead, Joe.
When this first came up to me, I certainly did not know who the candidate was going to be. And I do believe there's a process to go through, and we should send this through the process. That being said, I'm going to be supportive of her. I believe she's the right candidate according to the Democratic Party, and I don't have any problem with that. I just want to state, the facts are, I think it should go through the process as well. I don't think I'm changing my vote a month from now. I don't see the urgency. I think there is a process, but I'm certainly in favor of her.
The urgency is that we don't have a commissioner representing the Democratic Party sitting at the Board of Elections. That's the urgency. You have one. My party does not have one.
We have a deputy.
The deputy is not the commissioner. You have a deputy and a commissioner. I only have a deputy. And I don't understand the delay in this. We have put so many other businesses on this agenda since I've been sitting here 18 years that we have done without committee. I mean, time and time again, and there's never been an issue because we felt the urgency of the matter, of all the matters that we've had to consider. This is the most urgent. We're sitting now at a Board of Elections with one commissioner who represents one particular party. I'm asking us to balance that as quickly as we can, which would be tonight. We have the ability. I put this on the agenda 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I had requested this. It was posted, called again to make sure it was there. I don't know what else to do. We knew this was happening. There was no mystery other than who would be the person, and we vetted it out. You don't have a role in appointing that person.
But my concern was I was going to find the name of a person I don't know. I certainly know who she is, and I think she's more than qualified.
Then let's vote.
And that's my statement to that. But I do want to stress the fact that I do believe there's a process in place. That's all I'm saying. And
when we did this SAFE Act thing, we had no process. We introduced it that same night.
And
we
look what
voted on it.
happened. And look what happened.
But that's the whole point. We do that all the time on this one. This one is safe. This one, if we don't do it tonight, the uproar is going to be, what is going on? That we did not appoint that person to represent the other party. Why are we delaying it? Give me a good reason to delay it. It's not going to change. The Democrats aren't going to change their choice. It's going to be Kathy Crum. Let's place the individual in that commissioner's position.
Go ahead, Jan.
Okay, we know it's Kathy Croft, and we applaud Kathy Croft, and we think she will serve as a fine Democratic commissioner. I think most of us feel, and I will speak for myself, that the process is important. We place a value on process. And I think Democrat or Republican, we each can respect that we are not circumventing the process. That we are not talking about a long period of time. We're talking about 2 or 3 weeks where a deputy commissioner can suffice, that will not have an adverse effect on the Board of Elections or the Democratic constituents. As the chairman of the Rules Committee, I love rules, and I think that we will alleviate a lot of problems if we uphold and respect the rules and policies set forth. And by doing so, that we don't have to worry about, well, we bent the rules this way for this time, and in your 18 years, how many times did you do it? We just adhere to the rules.
Then I would
We
say-
respect the rules, and this will not have an adverse impact for the 2 weeks, and will be effective January 1st anyway. That was the resolution that Chairman Ockman was going to bring forth. So conversely, what's the rationale if January 1st is going to be the said start date?
Then we should never have other business on this agenda because we just approved the grant application without going through the process. You all voted for it, and it was unanimous. This flies in the face of reason. We have a grant application, other business, not vetted at all, and we approved it this evening. So what are we doing here? Is this political, ladies and gentlemen? Come on, let's stop this. Let's put it on the table. You just did this, Jenny. Don't talk to me about process. I didn't hear you argue one bit about that.
Sam,
Grant.
that was time sensitive, Sam. That was time.
This is time sensitive. I don't have a commissioner representing my party.
Sam, that's the disagreement, and we can agree to disagree. But what you just brought up a point was time sensitive. It had to be in. We're talking
This
about
is time sensitive.
Sam,
Stick
we're,
with the agenda
listen,
first.
you have a right to your opinion. I'm not arguing back and forth. I think what you're hearing, and we're gonna take a roll call
It's
vote.
unfair, Anthony. There's fairness and honor in this
I wanna say-
situation.
I wanna say
This
this.
is becoming political, and I don't like
I
it.
just-
If we approve this and appoint Kathy now, effective January 1st, then Kathy feels comfortable going into the commissioner's office, and she knows it's legal, it's done, she can see what's what, find out what her duties are gonna be, look around the office and so on and so forth. I personally don't see anything wrong with it. As a courtesy, it's a non-competitive position. It's not like we're appointing a highway commissioner or health commissioner, and I think it's the decent thing to do. Ginny, I don't like rules. I've been breaking them since I was in kindergarten. My mother, I was talking to my mother today, and she's probably the oldest Democrat in the county. She told me she registered in the Democratic Party in Mahopac back in 1947. And she said, Richie, you gotta get this passed tonight, because she's friends with Bob Bennett. And I think it's a harmless thing, and I think it's a courtesy. I mean, I didn't want it to go this far, but I have to decide with Sam on this.
Can we become-
Go, yeah, Carl, I'm sorry, I get worked up.
I have no problem with it being effective January 1st. I'm sorry, Sam, I disagree with you. I don't see the urgency. You got a great candidate here. It's going to fall into place. This is the way the cards went down. Mr. Bennett decided to take his vacation right as he went out. There is representation there. There's nothing urgent going on at this very moment. I just don't see how, I think we all know where we're going with this. Start January 1st as it was anticipated, and we move on. That's what I would be in favor of.
Barbara?
You know, I came into this thinking that I was going to go with Ginny and follow the rules, but, you know, sometimes you have to look at the big picture, and Sam is putting a very passionate plea to us, and being the only Democrat in a solely Republican legislature, I think, as Richie says, it's a courtesy, and I don't think it's life-threatening. As you pointed out, it's other business. We talked about this 2 weeks ago, so I think I will vote yes on this.
Could I, Rich?
Jeannie, go ahead.
I wasn't going to say anything because I think what's going on here and the discussions that we had, and I think we're missing sort of the point here, because of certain mishaps, and this is my opinion, that took place this year, where we circumvented the process with the New York SAFE Act, with the Indian Point resolution. It's not about us knowing 2 weeks ago, Sam, that this was going to happen or transpire. It's for the public to know that this was going to take place. And for me, in terms of the candidate, tops can't be any better. That's not the issue. The issue here is we were concerned that if we pass this tonight, next week, we're going to hear that certain people maybe were unhappy, they didn't have an opportunity for the public to speak. And now, because people always want to comment on whatever it is that we're doing. I understand.
It's never happened for the appointment of the Board of Election Commission, that it goes to the public.
I
Never.
understand,
In all
but
the years
also a
I've
lot of
served here.
things. I think this is on the heels of a lot of mismanagement that's taken place this year, that we felt that we didn't look like a professional body because things were done and processes were not followed. And I think that, in all honesty, I didn't hear any of my colleagues talk about political parties and Democrats or Republicans. It was really about process. We felt that maybe the public would think that they didn't have an opportunity to, speak on the issue. Really, that was all that this is about. And, that's it.
Mr. Chairman, if I can, never once in the 4 times I sat to put forward the selection of whether it was a Republican commissioner or the Democrat commissioner did we ever vet this to the public. It is a party choice through their committee process. And it's specified under the charter that it is. It doesn't go out to vote. It doesn't work that way. There's never been a public discussion on the selection of the commissioners. The legislators come forward. They may discuss it amongst themselves. That has been done, but never any intervening public outcry, unless you hear it on your own.
I know, but I have to say, I think that we're forgetting a couple of years back, there was an incident. We had a war on this body.
That was internal.
No,
It didn't involve the
we
public.
had a public meeting, and it was a fight back and forth in terms of appointing both commissioners, Republican and Democrat, okay, midterm, in the middle of the year.
That was the
Huge
midterm issue.
fight.
That was the issue, but
It
not
was a
the
huge
appointment of
fight.
the individuals. The appointment of the individual
but
has
this
always
is-
been a clean process.
Yeah, but this
And
is
what I'm
not
saying is that
about the
I
individual.
don't understand, having to give it more time. It's been on the agenda since the agenda was released on the internet. Over 2 weeks this has been here as the approval, appointment, Board of Election Commissioner, Democratic Party. I don't understand
But
this,
the
really.
process, but
What is the process? To send it to committee?
when something is on the full agenda, okay, the public can comment after we vote. And again, it's not about the candidate. We don't pick the candidate. We affirm the will of the committee.
Right.
But maybe there's someone in the public that wants to say something to us before we appoint this person. That's what open and transparent government is.
That has
That's
never
all I'm saying.
happened the 4 times
I
I've sat
know,
here.
but-
Deanie, it never has.
Dan,
And what are we
Sam?
suggesting now that it will? Because
No,
it's a
what I'm-
Democrat? Look,
No, not at all.
well, that's the way it appears. I have to tell you, that's the way it appears. When your Democratic legislator 4 times has voted consistently for the Republican because it was the right thing to do, because we want to give full support of these Board of Election individuals, and then when the Democrat brings somebody up and the 8 Republicans say no, what do you make of that?
The 8
And there's no,
Republicans did not
don't
say
use
no.
this as an excuse of process because we violated the process this evening. And I'll go back every agenda for 18 years in the past where it says other business, and everything we did without sending it through committee.
Carl.
This is not urgent, this is urgent.
You might have the votes.
Now, yeah, just
Carl, go
a
ahead.
question, Sam, you just said something, the Republican. In other words, this has happened in December in the past with the Republican chairman?
They tried to change it once and make it a mid-year appointment, and that caused a controversy, but outside of that,
All right, but in
it's
other
always
words, I
been
don't
this
think
way.
we've dealt with the same issue. If this was Republican or Democrat, it wouldn't make a difference to me. I'm just looking at dollars and cents saying, there's no reason for us to lay out any more money. We were looking at the budget over $200, $300, $500. Everything is in place. I'm all in favor for it, starting January 1, like the position calls for. Procedure is a big issue, but in this case, I would say, I would let it slide.
So what would you
All right, let me speak now. All right, let's just lance the boil here. Clem, I have to bring forward item 6B first to see if we will entertain it. Is that how I do this? And then I'll have a vote on it?
Well, you have a resolution before you tonight, which is the first time it's been on the agenda.
Okay, so then what I'll do is,
So you have to move, somebody has to move to waive the rules and
Look.
this particular thing on the agenda.
Mr. Chairman,
oh, wait, I couldn't hear that. Sam, what?
he says you would need to have somebody waive the rules. But we already did. We waived the rules already at other business. We waived the rule of the business. All of us agreed to waive the rules and put it on the agenda. Everybody just did that.
See,
That's how we passed the approval of the grant application.
All right, so can I make a motion that
So
we...
you can't remove it from the agenda. It's now an agenda item that has been approved.
All right, I would like to make a motion that we approve the appointment of Kathy Croft as the election commissioner of the Democratic Party of Putnam County effective January 1st, 2014.
I would second that.
Carl will second that. So I would ask for a roll call vote.
Legislator Albano.
Yes.
Legislator Castellano.
Yes.
Legislator DeCarlo.
No.
Legislator Gross.
Yes.
Legislator LeBeau.
I'm going to concede to the legislator from Putnam Valley. Yes.
Legislator Nasarino.
Yes.
Legislator Oliverio.
It's not what I want. I would like to be effective immediately, but I applaud the compromise. Yes.
Legislator Scuchamaro.
Yes.
Chairman Osmer.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Next, recognition of public. If anyone from the public would like to speak, please come to the microphone and identify yourself and the town you live in.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to thank you for a compromise, but I would like you to know, does anyone on the board know how many registered Democrats there are in Putnam County?
I know my mother is.
I know, we
I know Sam is.
miss you too. There are over 18,000 of us. And I really feel, if this will help, Kathy can go in now, but I do feel a little bit discriminated against. I think it's really important, just as it is for you, to have full representation when it's available to us at the Board of Elections. And I think we missed the boat on that, on your vote, starting in January. And we have a competent deputy, but we could have a commissioner, and you guys have a commissioner.
Right.
And this is a very exceptional circumstance. The Democrats moved heaven and earth. You know, it's never easy with Democrats, you know, it's like herding cats. But what we worked really hard to have a commissioner ready and willing and able to serve tonight.
Meeting last night.
And I'm pleased there was a compromise. I thank Richie, I worked with a lot, and I thank you very much, and Sam, of course. Barbara, thank you. And thank you to the rest of you who voted yes. But,
Don't forget Roger.
and, well, I thank all of you who voted yes, but, and I understand the procedure in one small way, but I do think this is an exception, and I am disappointed because I don't think, I think we deserve a commissioner full-time and deserve one now. Thank you.
Kathy, congratulations.
Congratulations.
I'll give you Anyone else have anything to say? Come on up to the microphone. Identify yourself. And with just a little DNA sample.
I'm Chris Moran from Brewster, New York. Good evening, everyone, to you, the legislators of Putnam County, and to you, my fellow Putnam County residents who have taken the time today to invest your time and energy in making this community exactly what you hope it can be. I also am here today to contribute to the shared vision of the bright future of Putnam County. To introduce myself, my name is Chris Moran, and I live at 10 Brewster Hill Road since my family has moved to Putnam County in 1998. My parents are both active members of the community, and my brother, sister, and I grew up in the woods and creeks that make Putnam the beautiful and special place it is. While I pride myself on the ability to share my ideas with people, I want to choose my words carefully today in an effort to break with the recent history surrounding Tilly Foster Farm.
It's not on the agenda.
Yeah, it's not an agenda item. You really have to speak about what was on the agenda tonight. Yeah.
Okay.
When you want to send a letter into the legislature,
Physical service meeting.
Okay.
I'll give you the date for that right
That'd
now.
be great, yeah.
on the committee, I don't mean to do that to you.
No, it's okay.
December 17th, across the way, room 318, in that brick building, 6:30.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, before we close the meeting, Barbara Scriccimayor would like to close the meeting in honor of someone in her... Oh, I'm sorry, Ginny, go ahead. Oh, anyway, recognition of legislators.
Okay, this being the last public meeting with Chairman Ockmer and Legislator DiCarlo, I just wanted to say that it's been an honor and a privilege to serve with you. Anthony, you have served your constituents with the utmost integrity, and I have the utmost respect for you. You're intelligent, articulate, your thinking is always clear and concise, and your votes have always been in the best interest of the people, and you will be a tremendous loss to this legislature. And Rich, we love you, you know that, and I appreciate your compassion and your ability to always bring a humane touch to our legislature forum and our reasoning. We will miss your style and your humor, and you are very knowledgeable, although at times you underestimate yourself, but you have served us well as your chairman, and it's been a sheer honor to know you.
Thank you, Ginny.
And to
We still have the year-end meeting, though.
I know, but it doesn't give me the opportunity to let everyone know how I feel about you guys, and I just wanted to say, although you're leaving the legislature, you still will be serving the residents of Kent, and they are very fortunate to have you. So I wish you both the best of luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you very much, Ginny. Anyone else want to talk about me? No.
Just wish everybody a great holiday.
Chairman Arthur, I would like to just echo what Legislator Nasarino said. Anthony, I'm certainly going to miss you too, your candor and your integrity. And it's a shame you're not going to be back. I really miss that. I've known you for 2 years now, and I really appreciate your counsel and your perspective on things and keeping the process. You've used that word many times, and we have to remember that. So I really appreciate your working with you. And Rich, your candor, you're a strong force, you're positive, and you always have something good to say about everyone, and we're going to miss you. You're a strong force as well. And Ken's a lucky guy to have you in their highway department.
Thank you very much.
And your jokes.
Mr. Chairman, because I will not be at the end of the year meeting, I have a conflict that night because the date was changed, so I just want to take a couple of minutes. It's amazing, 10 years has gone by, 7 years on the town board, 3 years on this esteemed board, and the colleagues that I serve with now, even though some of you only got to know for a year, but those of you who I know for the last 2 years, it's been an incredible journey. I really enjoy the legislative process. Sam, we've agreed to disagree many, many times, but that's what government is all about. You know what? A chapter's closed. I never say we close the book because you never know, but you know, it's been an honor to serve the people of the town of Carmel, and now again the people of the town of Mahopac here on the board, and to all the people who are in county government, all the department chairs, the workers, the people. It's been an honor to work with you, to serve with you. It's always melancholy, in a chapter where you know life when it closes and moves on. All I know is town meetings and county meetings for many, many, many hours, many days, and been taken away from my family and the like. And I'll miss it. I'm not going to tell you I'm not going to miss it because it's part of who you become. But it's been an honor. It's been a pleasure to serve. You know, in the times we live, it can be very, very difficult, and it saddens me that we don't have more people running and more people getting involved. But because of what's happening and people not wanting to, because their lives are an open book. And you know, it should be just about campaigning and talking about what's best for the people, not demonizing your opponent, not doing things that are just hurtful to individuals, to families. And hopefully down the road that'll change because it has to. So again, I thank you all. It's been an honor. Richie, great working with you as the deputy and the chairman. And again, to Mary Ellen, I don't know if she came in tonight, she's back there, but you know, 3 years of a journey, it's been great. And again, thank you all very much. Have a wonderful holiday. I will be here for personnel, but have a great holiday. And again, thank you for everything. I appreciate it.
Anthony, you still got 3 terms you can serve.
Yeah.
You know, people do come back.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to miss you, buddy. Richie, you've been a friend for many, many years. I mean, many years. And I love your style because you are the most honest guy I have ever dealt with. You call it like it is, you see it like it is, and theirs it is straight and solid. And though we may have disagreed many times, I'll tell you, Richie, you were always up front. You always got on the phone with me. If there was an issue that you knew that maybe we'd be at loggerheads with, and you have no idea how much I appreciate that. You've been an outstanding chairman. You've been fair and just, and most of all, you've been honorable. And in this profession, it's a hard thing. And I grade you as the Class A and number 10. You know?
Thank you, Sam.
Number 1, number 10. Great.
Well, before Barbara closes the meeting, we're getting all warm and fuzzy here. So I just want to say, you know, in the newspaper I keep reading about William Shakespeare's Hamlet, where there's something rotten in Denmark. And I looked it up, and it was Marcellus when Hamlet left with his father's ghost down the hallway, and the king was drunk downstairs. And Marcellus was the Roman, said, "There's something rotten in Denmark." I'll say this: we fight, we argue, but there's nothing rotten in the county government that I know. The executive branch with Mary Ellen and my legislative colleagues here, they're good, honest people. Tonight, I had an agenda of 5 items. They shot me down on all 5 of them before I came. Actually, I did do a recoup at the end here, but I was shot down 5 times. And they're good, honest people, and they think logically. And I think the county's well represented, whether you're a Republican or Democrat. And I learned a lot from all you people, and that's it. And there's nothing rotten in Denver. There's nothing rotten in Putnam County. I guarantee it. So with that, Barbara.
As you all know, there was a horrific train accident last Sunday, and 4 people were killed in that accident. And one of them was a resident of Phillipstown. Jimmy Lovell was a gentle, quiet man, and he will be sorely missed in our in our community. I was hoping that we could do a moment of silence for Jimmy and his family. Thank you very much. And one more thing, I just wanted to thank County Executive and Vinnie Tamania for the Transportation Department that really rallied and came to the aid of the commuters in Garrison and Cold Spring.
Yes.
They had shuttles there on Monday morning, and I think they started at 5 o'clock, and helped these commuters get over to the Southeast Station. And that was, I said to myself, no matter what you throw at Putnam County, we can handle it. And my congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn. Second?
Second.